Hello, this is Robert Burr. I am creating a video for my project in the class CO2 6931 Term 2, demonstrating MolaMessenger, which is my project, and it is a web application that I created to fulfill the project requirement. The client is Baptist Healthcare. It is a healthcare system in Pensacola, Florida, and the application is called MolaMessenger. Basically, during the initial talk with Baptist Healthcare, some ideas were thrown around, and like the first term video that I created, there was an issue with communication during the storm. Healthcare facilities did have issues with communicating information with organizations or even to their internal staff members. They sometimes didn't have the greatest way of basically sending a message quickly and accurately to or basically departments or people that they needed to communicate quickly. The idea came out for a solution of that problem for Baptist Healthcare communicating disaster type messages to internal and external recipients quickly and accurately. It does solve the latency of publishing the message to the website. What was happening was during the what they call a command center get together, when they decided on message, the person would have to get onto their email. They were actually using their own email to communicate to departments or internal staff or even external um, other client contact list. So if another person had to pick up that role, they would have to make sure that the contact list they have in their email was the same, and this led to many errors. How MolaMessenger, the idea worked was you would have a command center group like I mentioned before, and then one person would work on the MolaMessenger application. Once you use the MolaMessenger application, it connects to a database, records the message, and then will be sent to either groups of people like the departments or maybe the administration. It could be sent to the press, which was external messages, and maybe grouped by facilities. There's also a component from the database which a website could actually call the application and get the messages grouped by campaign, and I'll go over campaign or later. But this was a quick way for if the message needed to be displayed on a website and it was for external use, then once the message is sent, it could be grouped by that campaign and actually shown onto that website. So what does it solve? Well, the benefits of this application are email groups are available to all message publishers. For instance, if that person gets sick or can't make it that day, another person can take over the MolaMessenger application, use the same contact list. They're not using their own business email to do the messaging. There's one stop from maintaining contact group lists. That's a result of having the application and having all the contacts within the application's database. Messages are stored in a database, like I've mentioned before. This is one of the key benefits of this application. And their website, or any website that has permissions, can be updated by pulling in message information from the database, thus reducing time for sending the message to maybe content providers who then have to duplicate that message onto the website. There is a history, so they can go back to looking at the message if needed, and the internal staff get the standard message all at once, and the external stakeholders get that prompt message from the command center group. Now these are just the nuts and bolts of the application. The database I'm using is the SQL Server 2012. The server is the Server 2012 standard. I'm using the web architecture pattern, which is called the Model View Controller. This is a great way of doing code separation. For instance, if you've got a designer who needs to work on a view, the controller and model can be used by a developer to really sharpen that code. Together with separation, they don't bump into each other when they create an application or websites. The languages I used was HTML, JavaScript, C#, Razor, and of course SQL. The web application framework is called the Zurb Foundation. This is a great framework that I used for what is now a big trend called responsive design, and I'll demonstrate that later. The IDE, or Integrated Development environment is Visual Studio 2012. This is by Microsoft. And the database development environment I used was SQL Server Management Studio. This is to write the queries, make sure they work, basically look at the roles of the database. Now let's talk about the MolaMessenger application, how it looks and what it functions and how it delivers that message. So what you're going to see when you go into MolaMessenger.com is you're going to see the login screen. You got to have a login screen to just go into the application. This is a way preventing people just going in and writing messages that are not accurate or just messing it up. And what I wanted to do today, even though I do have the PowerPoint slide of what the web page works, I'm going to bring in the browser to kind of actually do a live demo as I go through each screen. So right here, you're going to see Chrome. And you're going to what I'm going to do is go and log in, and you'll see a live demonstration of the application as well as seeing the PowerPoint slides. So let me go ahead and log into the application. And this is actually live on the internet, the live server. It'll take a moment for it to go and send its request to the database, and it should give us a pass in, and as you see, it does. I'm going to minimize this just for a little bit. So what you're going to see is the last 5 message, and that goes into my next slide, which you'll see identically the last 5 message of the application. So once I've done that, you'll see the last 5 messages entered. And this is a way of demonstrating, or actually just displaying the messages. So somebody just coming into the application, what they're going to do is they're going to look at this and make sure that a message has not been sent out that they're about to put in. In other words, we're going to avoid duplicate messaging. So if there is a message that already says hospital is all clear, the main hospital is clear from operations, if that's already sent, then the user acknowledges, hey, I don't have to create another message and send that message, and that avoids duplication. As you see on the PowerPoint slides, I've already put in the enter a contact. One of the feedback items I did get from the client was they wanted things very simple. They didn't want everything flooded with buttons and just a lot of chaos into application. So what I made sure was to make colors very light, bold colors, and make sure that everything was pretty easy to view and seeing. They just didn't want to get into a big learning curve. So as you see, part of the application to enter a contact was pretty easy. It's full name, email address, and you choose the group it belongs to. So if somebody belongs to or works at Baptist Hospitals, just simply choose this. So once again, I'll bring in the live demo, and I'll go and choose contact lists. As you see, this is a duplicate screen, and what you're going to do is just simply create the name, and I'm just going to put John Smith and main at example let's just do .com, and I'll go and make him administration. And as you see, real easy steps, and then you add a contact. Now once I've done that, you'll notice that a little display comes up, a text display. It says contact user, enter another. What this has done is stayed on the same page, so you can add multiple contacts, and it doesn't go to another page like a thank you page, but it does give you the same page, so you're right off the bat you can enter another contact. Let's say you've got 5 or 6 you need to enter. You stay on that page and you don't have to go back. It gives you feedback right under the headline, enter a contact. Okay. So the next slide is the MolaMessenger settings. Under the settings, once again, the goal was to create a simple interface, nothing complex. Because one of my goals was to make sure that this could be done on other displays like mobile smartphones or even tablets. I wanted to make sure this wasn't just a desktop application. And I'm kind of giving away the ending, but I wanted to demonstrate why everything is so simple, very clear, and the colors are not anything complex. One of the feedback that I did get was make sure the blue, you'll see the blue stripe right here, does match the Baptist blue, what they call it Baptist blue. And I did want to put that in. I did make some of the headlines orange because I wanted that really to pop out to them to know where they were at. Okay, going back to the live demo, we're going to go to settings, and you notice that's the same display, and I can actually right here change my password within this form, and it's simple as that, change password. You'll notice that it already has me entered. I'm entered as admin at MolaMessenger.com. New password, change password, done. Okay, next was another feedback item. Besides frequently asked questions, they wanted a YouTube video, which is a great idea because it's better to demonstrate things live where people can visually see the steps versus step 1, step 2, step 3. So what I had done was created a YouTube video on how to create a message in MolaMessenger, and that was the big in-service they really wanted. How do I create this message? The settings was easy, the contact list was easy, but creating the message, they wanted to be sure that they knew how to create that message. So the help page displays frequently asked questions and a YouTube video to create and send a message in MolaMessenger. I wanted to create other videos as time came in. Once they get to really get the feel of the application, maybe they'd give me more feedback for version 2 or maybe a 1.5 build or so forth. And let me go back to the live demo. You'll notice in the help, it does have the frequently asked questions. You'll notice that they're clearly defined in the yellow panels. And then right below this one, you'll see the YouTube video. Just click the YouTube video. And you'll notice it goes right into how to create a message. Very simple. Good feedback by them to give the idea of creating a YouTube video. And that was done for their help section. Okay, the next item is the campaign list. The campaign list basically is a way to group these messages together. For instance, you'll notice that these right here were entered. Some of these obviously are tests because this application wasn't live at the time. You'll notice there's Hurricane Rob 2013. There was a power outage. So all messages, for instance, Hurricane Rob 2013, all messages that pertain to a Hurricane Rob in 2013 would be grouped within this campaign. So this was a way of selecting this campaign and then creating the message. So you know the message would be grouped under Hurricane Rob 2013. This is one thing that I felt was really important because let's say you've got several hurricanes happening within the year. Well, if you send messages and you don't know which hurricane it's coming from, then that would be very chaotic. So you'll notice that I've got Hurricane Jill. These are just test campaigns. Tornado Cat 3, a couple more hurricanes. There was flooding in 2012. It could be anything. And what I did recommend was they choose a campaign of what it was. Maybe there was a name attached to it in a year. This was a good way of grouping the campaigns so they would know exactly what the disaster was, maybe if there was a name given, and of course the year. So creating a message starts off first by creating or choosing an existing campaign. If this campaign is not within the list, you can create a new one. And once again, going into my live demo, I'm going to go up here and click on the messages, and you'll notice Hurricane Rob 213, the same list, and I could create a new one. So let's create a new campaign. And once again, I've hit a panel to give them suggestions. So if there's flooding, and it's flooding cats and dogs, and it's the year 2013, then that would be a great way of entering that campaign. So let's enter another hurricane, since this is Florida, and we'll call this one Jack. And once again, it's 2013. So I'm going to create the campaign, And you'll notice right here that Hurricane Jack 2013 is listed. So right off the bat, you can select Hurricane Jack 2013 because that's the one you created, and then you can go and create your message. So let's go ahead and we've already selected Hurricane Jack 2013 and create the message. So let's click on create your message. And we'll get back to this live demo in a second. I want to go back to the PowerPoint. And as you saw in the live demo, this screen did come up. Once again, very simple, very simplicity on the colors. You'll notice the orange pops out as in messages to give the user the definition that this is the messages view. So after a campaign is created, this simple message form is displayed. So I'm going to go back to the live demo, and you'll notice that same display. And you'll notice on the body what I've done is I've actually created the text area to be expandable. And you can't do this. And this is just an HTML tag text area. So you can actually expand this to see more of your text or your message. So let's say subject main hospital is under code 1. And I'll write the body, main hospital due to Hurricane Jack is under code 1. Please be aware of your stations. Okay, once you've done that, very simple, enter the message. We now get into a message destination page. Okay, I'll get back to the PowerPoint and click the next slide, and the same page. You'll notice that in this PowerPoint, the message has been created and it's kind of in a queue. It's actually waiting. Okay, I've labeled the message ID. The message subject is here. The message body is also displayed. Now you'll notice right here the contact list. You'll notice that the orange headlines actually mean something of what that area is pertaining to. So in the contact list, the message destination is of course this area. The contact list is where the message destination is going to. So message is now recorded by the database and the destination view is displayed. Here is where you can choose the message where it's going to be sent. So I'll go back to the live demo. So I see my message, so I know which message I'm on. Message ID 136. And with this drop down, I now have all the selections that are built in. So I can make sure it goes to the Baptist Hospital, administration, any of the things that they've added. The contact lists are already built in. So let's choose Baptist Hospital. So I'm going to hit submit. Okay, you'll notice right here this jumps out, kind of jumps a little bit, and I highlight it here. Your email is on its way. Would you like to send your email to another destination list? So once again, I've stayed on this page. The action has been created, and I can actually send this to another department or facility depending on what the contact list I needed to send to. So I don't want to create another, I don't want to choose another destination. So I'm okay with this. It's gone to Baptist Hospital's contact list, and that's exactly where I want it to go. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And once again, this is just reiterating what happened on the live demo. You'll notice that's highlighted in blue that it is on its way, and you can choose another destination list to go to. Now, one of the key benefits of this, and one of the goals of MolaMessenger was, besides getting this message out to certain contact lists, was once this message is out, the website could actually now pull that message from the database. And how it does that is simple in an iframe tag. Right here you'll see the iframe tag, and you'll see a special URL. Now this URL, for instance, is the display of Hurricane Rob 2013. So you'll see all the listing of the messages pertaining to that hurricane. You can have different URLs pertaining to whatever group or campaign it's referring to. So the website can now get updated with the latest message simply by directing one of their web pages using this iframe. And so I'm going to demonstrate that on the live demo. And I'll have to remember it because it's being covered now. So if I put campaign, there it is, campaign index hurricane, Rob 2013, I've listed the 10 messages entered, and that's what was the feedback I received, 10 messages. You could always put more in later, but they wanted to see what 10 messages were. The pages can be quite long. You'll notice that the message ID 135, the campaign is Hurricane Rob, 134 is a message Hurricane Rob, 133 Hurricane Rob. All of these are Hurricane Rob 2013. So simply putting this iframe code right here in a web page, you will actually see those messages pertaining to that campaign event. And this was one of the big benefits that was really excited about. So the email message wouldn't go to a person who then would have to relay that message to a content developer who would then have to put it on the site. There could be little errors when communicating the message, and you just want to make sure which ones are approved or not. Okay, the next PowerPoint slide is one I was really excited about, and this is one of the biggest trends in today's website or web application, and that is what we call responsive design. Now with multiple size displays, we've got desktop, we have tab, we have smartphones. Now there's actually TV. You can actually have TV internet now, and that's really coming on strong. So one of the frameworks I've chosen, and that was in a previous PowerPoint, was using a Zurb Foundation framework. There's another foundation, responsive design framework called Twitter Bootstrap. I've chosen Foundation Zurb because that's what I'm comfortable with and makes sense with me, and I think they've done a great job. So once again on the live demo, I'm going to demonstrate how as I shrink the window, the changes the content makes and the navigation, how that changes. I've tested this on the smartphones, the iPhone, Nexus 7, Nexus 10, and they work great. So once again on the live demo, I'm going to go straight up here. I'm going to hit back because I want to go back to just a regular, and in fact I'll just go to the dashboard page. So you'll see the last messages entered. Now desktop size would be about like that. Tablets would be a little more coming in here. Let me shoot it a little bit more. Okay, you'll notice things kind of move around a little bit, and you'll notice now, let's get even closer. You'll notice now that I've got this pretty close to a smartphone size, and you'll notice that the navigation up here has now turned into what the industry calls the hamburger icon. And so what this does is it displays an icon saying that there's a menu up here. So if I click on my menu, that's that navigation that I had when it was fully enlarged to a desktop. You'll notice too that as I open or widen and decrease the size, the content actually shifts to accommodate the size of whatever devices it's looking at. And this includes the entire application. So if I go here and want to create a message, you'll notice that everything fits real nicely into that size. If I click here and do settings, if I click here and do help, you'll notice that even the YouTube video fits real nicely within this size. And this was a big benefit that I was really excited to demonstrate to the client, that this web application doesn't have to be a native application. It can be a web application for any size device. So once again, it is responsive design, meaning it is responsive to whatever design size table, screen size that it works on. Dashboard, even contact lists. Everything just kind of moves along with the size. This was a big selling point, really got everybody excited. Okay, next slide is some budgetary needs. Of course, everybody wants to talk about financials and how financials were made, and if there was some deviation within the initial budget or what has changed. There's always a little bit of change, but the MolaMessenger basically stayed within budget. So I just gave this time a total budget. The previous PowerPoint gave detailed budget because that was a communication and planning phase, but here in the construction phase, these were pretty dead on. You can see I've outlined the communication, planning, modeling, construction, and deployment, the percentages, and the amounts. The construction took about 5,100, and deployment was 3,900. You'll notice the major percentages of the budget came from communication and planning, and that's normal. I believe the communication planning should take the most time because once you get into the modeling, construction, deployment, it is very tough if you don't really know what's going on. So there's a lot of time spent going back with wireframes and communication. Even the project definition, when you give it back to them, they've got to read it over and approve it. That took some time, and of course you always want to change some stuff. So as you can see, it stayed on target. I did have to make some changes. For instance, maybe in construction, they wanted to add on a feature. Well, I took away from deployment to make sure I met that deadline. So there were some issues at the beginning. I think that might have been in planning modeling, but it did work out, and it stayed within the 30,000. That was the goal. I didn't want to deviate from the budget. So once again, I added all together. MolaMessenger did cost 30,000, and the budget total was achieved without going over. So that was a big plus. Okay, real quick, the timeline, the documents produced, developed, project definition, detailed budget, the software project management plan were documents that were created initially in the beginning of the project. Timeline was used. I used the Gantt chart to look at my timelines and my gaps to see if there was any issues I can shorten or lengthen. Methodology, software requirements, which was big. Risk management was even bigger because there might obviously have issues that always do come up when creating applications. And of course there was wireframes, the class diagrams. Class diagrams are diagrams of the classes within the application. Database modeling schema. The database modeling basically outlines the tables and attributes of the database, so anybody come in can actually work within the database, and if they look at the modeling schema, they'll understand how the database works. The entity relationship ER diagram is a diagram to give the administrator a quick glance and understanding of the database schema. So once you look at the database ER diagram, you kind of know how things fit. So you see how tables work with each other, the relationships with each other, and how they interact, the foreign keys and the primary keys and so forth. So in summary, the MolaMessenger, I believe, did achieve its objectives, which was sending disaster-related messages to the appropriate email addresses, consolidating the group contact list that will be available to approved publishers, and of course archive the message into the database so client websites can pull in recent messages and archive the messages as well. So that was the key benefits of this MolaMessenger application. I believe that it did achieve this. And of course with every software you always build upon the foundation of the application. So in the future I'm sure there'll be upgrades, differences, there might be some bugs that might come up, but the client was pleased with the application, and it did meet all their needs and feedbacks. And once again, the live demo shows the MolaMessenger in action, and a simple logout takes them right into the log into screen. And this ends my PowerPoint YouTube video on the MolaMessenger application. Thank you.